A group of 15 who stopped a 25-year-old black man last Saturday night, then beat him, kicked him, and clubbed him, unaware that an amateur photographer was recording the incident on videotape. Los Angeles Police Chief Daryl Gates looked at the tape and said he thinks assault with a deadly weapon will be one of the charges.
Well, they just almost beat Rodney King to death. I remember that.
You know, I would like to discuss a lot of the tragic events of a lot of African American men who were shot down by police unarmed. And this goes back to where I'm leading this, is the Rodney King and Los Angeles riots. Rodney King and the Los Angeles riots, it has been called the worst in American history, where the riots that were sparked by the acquittal of 4 Los Angeles Police Department officers in the Rodney King case on April 29th, 1992, where a black man Rodney King was clubbed, kicked, beaten, stomped, tased, and while he was being filmed by a concerned citizen. Rodney King suffered 11 skull fractures, brain damage, and kidney damage, all in under 2 minutes. The 4 LA police officers were charged with assault with a deadly weapon and the use of excessive force, but were acquitted by an all-white jury. Thousands of people responded to the verdict with many days of rioting in South Central Los Angeles. And now, what I like to say is, there have been examples where different narratives, he ran 4 lights or 3 lights, and the other 2 men got out and were handcuffed, but he put up a struggle and resisted arrest. There were different narratives. But the thing is, what most experts say, those cops did not have to use that type of force. And the riots, if you remember, the 1965 Watts riots, the prime example of that was racism plus the economy. Economic unrest. Do you understand? Now we have been marching for over 50 years. Do you understand that? And I want you to be honest with yourself and ask yourself one simple question. What have we gained out of all these marches? What we should have been doing is fighting for economic justice. That's the basis of the law, these riots, economic justice and racial tension. It's like Dr. King, and I'm going to go back to Rodney King. It's like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the last year of his life. A lot of people had turned against him, and he changed and he said, I believe that I've destroyed my people by integrating them into a burning house. He told this to actor Harry Belafonte, a fellow civil rights activist. And he was also surprised to see that there were black people on these farms in the South in 1965 that never seen a dollar bill. Now ask yourself a question. What has changed in all these years? Decades after decades of marching, rioting. But do you see one thing? Have you noticed the Chinese community? You notice Chinatown? Separate but equal. What we should be doing is training our kids to be entrepreneurs. Your money is supposed to bounce in your community at least 7 times before it goes out of your community. The butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. In other words, all of the businesses in your community are owned by fellow African Americans, or any group for that matter, who's the basis of their what ethnic group or race their neighborhood is. That's how money circles in your community, and then they hire other people of the same community. But now, getting back to Dr. King, see, that's why Dr. King was killed. But you know, I just want to say how horrible this is. You know, this man was beaten almost to death. And then after that, he says, on TV, please, can't we all get along? Now, what has changed? Look at Philando Castile. Look at Trayvon Martin. Philando Castile had a permit. He was a hard worker, loved by his fellow employees, white and black and Hispanic alike. And look what happened. They shot that man in cold blood. Look at Tamar Rice. What has changed in our community? Matter of fact, I'm going to put it this way. I'm going to go so far as to say we went from communities to neighborhoods to hoods. I haven't seen a black owned and operated drugstore since I was a child in New York. I was about 1974. When that closed down, I've never seen it. You have less businesses now than you did in the 1960s. Integration is a fail. It's a disaster. I had a child ask me, what is integration? We don't live near any... Well, that's something for another vid. But this is how disastrous this policy is. Do you see what happened? I mean, we've all seen the video countless times. How horrific that beating was. And if it wasn't for someone filmed that, they would have just patted them on the back. Well done. You've subdued this Negro. I've known people. I grew up and went to prison for nothing. That's right. And I come from the 50s. Everybody in my family was married to each other all their lives. A lot of them had their own businesses, including my grandfather. Do you understand what I'm... World War II vet in my family. December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor vet. One of my family members got wounded in Rome. World War II. But what have we gained? What happened? What have we gained? And then just look at this. Talking about a nonviolent theory as an original framework. I'm just reading. I just wanted to read this. I just want to read this to you. You know how many? The riots produced several days of rioting. I think over 50-something people were killed, 2,000 arrested, over $1 billion were done to property. What has changed? That was a wake-up call. Somebody called and said in that day, posted in that day. Has anything changed? We've been fighting for jobs and justice for over 50 years. Now look at the Hispanic community and other immigrants who came here legally. They're even throwing them out. Do you understand what's going on here? Nothing has changed. And matter of fact, it's getting worse. Now you got your kids shooting each other down in the street. We can't even communicate with our own community. Why? How many black channels on TV that you've seen that are owned and operated, not just operated, that are owned and operated by African Americans or American black folks? Do you understand how tragic this is? I could get a white man right now with a degree, and I get a black man right now with a bachelor's or a master's degree. If that white man has a record for anything, he's going to get the job first. This is how tragic this is. I'm not going to say this woman's name. She was unemployed with a master's degree. She was unemployed for, it's all over the newspapers. She was unemployed for 2 years. She kept filling application after application. Nothing, nobody called. Then she had an idea. When it come to race, I'm not going to answer that, / still nothing. She put down that she was white. She had 9 phone calls in one day, and the weeks and days the days and weeks that followed, she was getting all kind of feedback. Come in for an interview. Come in, we're very interested. How can we employ our people if you don't have any businesses? How can you have a community without stores? You have to remember, 75% of all black children are born in a single-parent household. Do you know that 60% of all black women are raped or molested by the time they're 18, and 1 out of every 3 males? Why? If you don't have any means of reliable communication with your people, if you can't enrich them in their mind, if you have no economic equality, you're alive, you have to eat. And another thing, stop blaming white people for everything. Right now, this is a black issue. We need to separate ourselves, clean our own house, educate our children to be entrepreneurs instead of training them to go work for other races of people. And for goodness sake, stop buying this hair from these all these other people. Do your hair the way it's supposed to be done. You spending over $1 billion with people that hate our guts, that do nothing for our community. And we need to keep God first. God bless. Pray, folks, pray. Because we are not only the black community, but America's in dire straits. Pray. We need God's guidance right now.